is Stephanie, Talk Tales and Trivia. I hope you're doing well this week of 2017. Oh, to be young again. Taking a look at my present neighborhood the other day, I wondered, where are all the children? Where are they? I know they're here. The middle school down the street is a testimonial to that. And with this question, I know that you will relate to the tale I tell you in this episode. You see, when I was about 4 years old, we lived in a very family-friendly neighborhood. A neighborhood with lots of kids around my age. I'd be outside all the time. There was always something to do. We played a lot of ball, rode bikes anywhere and anytime, day or night. We walked without our parents by our side. Back then, the time was more innocent, less scary, and I think more fun. But as most people know, having fun is very subjective. But no one can deny that times, well, they have changed. Has the world and the people in it become more paranoid? For today's episode, we'll say the world is just a different place than it was back in the 1970s. Most of the time, we made up our own fun and games. We had to because most parents were otherwise engaged or worked, and the activities, us kids wouldn't understand. But if I happened to be sick, for example, and did stay in the house, there was plenty to do. Oh yes, I had a closet full of dollhouses and comic books. I had pickup sticks and jacks, and let's not forget Light Bright and color forms. There were Raggedy Ann and Raggedy Andy dolls. But outside, there was the fresh air, and all the kids rode their bikes. And me, well, I rode a tricycle. But we all rode helmet-free. And when I think about it, well, we were doing activities that weren't always the safest things to do. Yep, playgrounds were more, shall I say, dangerous death traps. Exposed nails and splinters were the norm in many local playgrounds. Metal climbing frames and slides encouraging kids to climb 20 feet into the air above gravel and asphalt. Yep, well, that sounds about right. We'd play with big sticks and we dug in the dirt, go walking deep into the woods to forts, and all without adult supervision. Climb really high trees, get a refreshing drink and cookies from an older lady that didn't even have kids, and we didn't know. Yep, we did all that and survived. For those days when it was rainy, well, we figured out that one too. And some of my favorite indoor activities were Lincoln logs, color forms, and building blocks. The simple stuff that made up my simple life. And hey, before you judge me, like I said, I was 4 years old. I played with puppets and had a puppet stage. Life was secure and without worry. We had games like Monopoly, the Game of Life, Operation, and Candyland. When I think back on those days, I do have fond childhood memories. But we here at Talk Tales and Trivia must mention the unforeseen and forgotten errors in the 1970s as well. Our research team here at Talk Tales and Trivia found that playing with toys weren't safer and, if anything, more destructive than ever. On the offbeattopics.com website, we find this tidbit of tragic trivia. Quote, In the 1970s, you could buy the Battlestar Galactica toy, which was the reason for mandating the choking warning you now see on kids' toys with a piece smaller than a beach ball. The Battlestar Galactica Viper had a firing missile which a 4-year-old tragically shot into his mouth and choked to death in the 1970s. Yes, Mattel, the makers, were sued, and the choking hazard warning came to pass, end quote. And this, also from offbeattopics.com, quote, one classic 1970s toy, creepy crawlers, allowed kids to mold their own spiders and bugs out of plastic while inhaling potentially deadly toxic fumes and burning themselves on an electric-powered hot plate that reached 350 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hot. Creepy crawlers were banned in the late 70s. Also, kids in the 1970s weren't really made to wear seatbelts, let alone did we have special car seats. Yes, indeedy, most vehicles back then did come with seatbelts. But states really didn't enforce the laws or require anyone to use them. And now fast forward, and there's the internet. That does occupy everyone's time. Yep, children included. Well, to begin with, in the 70s, there was no intranet. What was that? That wasn't even a word in our dictionary yet. That alone makes a huge difference. Perhaps children are inside, still playing, but just in a different way. The 21st century way. Somewhat dependent on the internet for fun and activities rather than that of the outside world. Well, all of these seemingly careless acts of childhood that we all had back in the 70s made me the person that I am today. Liking and believing in the kindness of people I didn't even know. Having trust rather than distrust. Always giving somebody that upset me a second chance. My parents instilled that in me, and to this day, even though it's been a long time, I still adhere to that standard. I know for certain that the impressions that are made upon us when we are young stick with us when we become adults, unless we make a huge effort to change. But don't you find some of these silly times that you had when you were a child are still with you? Rather comforting? Oh, come on, admit it. You know it's true. And yes, there are times when I play games and dance and sing when no one is watching, rather than being an expert on the ways of the internet. You see, I prefer the term well-rounded, being in both worlds at the same time. Yes, being on the internet and all that it entails, and being a part of the outside world of face-to-face contact. And for me, well, that works perfectly. I'd like to leave you with a quote this week. It comes to us by E. Cummings. The most wasted of days is one without laughter. As always, we would love to know what you did, how you laughed, and how you had fun growing up. Well, we all have our special moments and friends. Email us at talktalesandtrivia@gmail.com and go to talktalesandtrivia.com to read the show notes on this here episode, as well as listen to past episodes. And let's have a chat right now about our new app. Shall we? Well, we now have a new Talk Tales and Trivia app that you can download right now in the App Store. It has all of our episodes as well as all of our blog posts. Go check it out. That is it for this week's episode, and we hope that you enjoyed it, and we will see you next week for another great episode. Our research team is working diligently on the research for that show. See ya!